I was 6 months pregnant when my husband walked into the restaurant with his ex-wife, not near her. Not accidentally beside her, with her. His hand was on the small of her back like he still knew the shape of it. I was sitting across from my best friend, Brooke, at a little Italian place in downtown Charleston, trying to eat chicken piccata without letting my daughter kick my ribs into a new zip code. Brooke had dragged me out because she said I needed adult conversation that didn't involve swollen ankles. I said my ankles had become their own adults actually, very independent, very disrespectful. Then the front door opened, and there was Evan, my husband, the man who had kissed my stomach that morning and told our unborn baby, "Be good to your mom today." Beside him was Claire, his ex-wife. She wore a cream dress, pearl earrings, and the calm confidence of a woman who had not just ruined my appetite but apparently made a reservation. Evan laughed at something she said. That was the part that hit first, not the hand, not the dress. The laugh, a real one. The kind he used to give me before our marriage became doctor appointments, back pain, and me crying because I dropped a spoon and couldn't bend down fast enough to pick it up. Brooke saw my face before she saw them. What? I couldn't speak. She turned. Oh, she said. Just that. Brooke had a law degree and a vocabulary that could peel paint, but apparently betrayal reduces everyone to one syllable. The hostess led Evan and Claire past our table. Past us. He didn't see me at first. Claire did. Her eyes landed on my belly, then on my face. Then she looked away too quickly. That was when Evan finally noticed me. He stopped walking. His hand dropped from her back. Too late. Very cinematic. Terrible timing. I picked up my water glass because my hand needed a job. Brooke whispered, "Do not throw that unless you're okay with witnesses." Evan said my name. Natalie. Soft, guilty. I looked at Claire, then at him, then at the empty chair beside her. "So," I said, "is this the part where you tell me this is a business dinner?" Nobody answered. My baby kicked once, hard. Even she had notes. Evan walked toward me like a man approaching a dog he wasn't sure would bite. Smart man. Late wisdom, but still. "Natalie," he said again. Claire stood behind him, holding her purse with both hands. It was a small purse. Useless, really. The kind of purse that could hold a lipstick and maybe one bad decision. Brooke leaned back in her chair. "Oh, please continue," she said. "I love dinner theater, especially when I didn't pay extra." Evan looked at Brooke. "Can you give us a minute?" Brooke smiled. "No." I almost laughed. Almost. I looked at my husband's shirt, navy blue, the one I had ironed that morning because he said he had a meeting with a hospital vendor. He had kissed my forehead while I stood barefoot in the laundry room, one hand on my belly, the other holding a sleeve. "You're going to be late," I'd said. "Worth it," he said. That memory crawled up my throat and sat there. "You said you had a vendor dinner," I said. "I did." Claire shifted. Evan closed his eyes for half a second. There it was. The tiny crack. People think lies explode. Usually they leak. Claire spoke first. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." Brooke raised her eyebrows. "Oh good. A classic opening." I looked at Claire. "What was it supposed to be like?" She swallowed. "I asked Evan to meet because there's something we needed to talk about." "Something that required his hand on your back?" Evan said, "Nat, please." I hated Nat in that moment. It sounded like he was trying to shrink me back into someone who loved him enough to make this easier. I rested one hand on my stomach. Our daughter moved again, softer this time. For weeks I had been telling myself Evan was stressed. Work pressure, baby nerves, money, the nursery paint color he suddenly cared about like we were raising a child inside a design magazine. He had been distant, yes, but men get weird before babies arrive. At least, that's what everyone told me. Men panic, my OB nurse had said. Sometimes they build cribs, sometimes they emotionally flee to Home Depot. Nobody mentioned ex-wives in cream dresses. Evan glanced around the restaurant. People were pretending not to look, which means everyone was absolutely looking. "Can we talk outside?" I looked at Brooke. She shook her head slightly. "Good." Because standing was already an ambitious pregnancy sport. "No," I said. "You walked in here with her. Talk here." Claire's face tightened. Then she said the sentence that made my fork slip from my hand. "Evan didn't tell you I called about the baby, did he?" The baby. For a second, I thought she meant mine. That's what pregnancy does. Every sentence with the word baby immediately becomes yours. Your brain grabs it like a raccoon with a cracker. I I put my hand over my stomach. What baby? Evan said. Claire. A warning, not to me, to her. Brooke sat forward. Oh, now I'm fully seated for this. Claire looked at Evan, then at me. Her voice dropped. I'm sorry, I thought you knew. I stared at my husband. The room around us blurred a little. Not dramatically. No black edges, no fainting. Just that weird narrowing your body does when it realizes your life has stepped off the curb. Knew what? I asked. Evan ran a hand through his hair. That gesture used to make him look boyish. Now it made him look like a man searching for a better version of himself and coming up empty. Claire said, I had a miscarriage. The words landed heavy. Even Brooke went quiet. I looked at Claire again. She wasn't smug. She wasn't performing. She looked tired. That complicated things, which I resented. I prefer my disasters labeled clearly. I'm sorry, I said automatically. Because I was. Because loss is loss, even when it comes from a woman standing beside your lying husband. Claire nodded. It was after Evan and I separated. Before the divorce was final. My stomach turned. Evan and Claire had divorced 3 years before I met him. At least that was the story. My divorce timeline must be broken, Brooke said quietly. Evan glared at her. I didn't. I needed someone in the room still willing to say the ugly part out loud. I asked, when? Claire looked at Evan. He didn't answer. So she did. 2 months after he started dating you. There are moments when humiliation arrives late, then brings luggage. I remembered our beginning. Evan telling me his divorce was done emotionally. Evan saying Claire was unstable. Evan saying she kept trying to pull him back into drama. I had believed him. Of course I had. New love makes you stupid in a very enthusiastic way. Were you still with her? I asked. Evan's mouth opened, closed. Lovely. A goldfish with a wedding ring. It was complicated, he said. Brooke muttered, there it is, the national anthem of men with overlapping relationships. I looked at my plate. Chicken piccata, cooling under a little puddle of lemon sauce. I had wanted one normal dinner. One. Instead, I got a timeline problem with capers. Claire pulled a folded paper from her purse. I asked him to meet because I found something from back then. Evan reached for it. She stepped back. No, she said. She should see it. And that was the first time I realized Claire hadn't come to take my husband. She had come to return a truth he stole from both of us. I did not read the paper in the restaurant. Tiny miracle of self-control. Also, my hands were shaking too hard, and I refused to give the room more entertainment. They already had betrayal, pregnancy, and Brooke's commentary. That was plenty for a Tuesday night. Claire placed the folded paper beside my water glass. Evan looked like he might grab it. Brooke moved her butter knife slightly, not threatening, just educational. Don't, she said. He didn't. After that, dinner was impossible. The server came over, saw our faces, and whispered, do y'all need boxes? Southern people can witness emotional collapse and still offer takeout. It's our regional superpower. Brooke helped me stand. My belly shifted forward like it was also leaving in protest. Evan said, Natalie, please let me drive you home. I looked at him. The absurdity almost made me laugh. You walked in with your ex-wife and a mystery document. I think I'll pass on the husband-chauffeur package. Claire flinched at ex-wife. Not offended. Tired. Outside, Charleston air wrapped around me warm and sticky. Brooke guided me to her car with one hand on my elbow, like I was elderly instead of furious and 6 months pregnant. In the passenger seat, I unfolded the paper. It was a hospital record. Claire's name, a date, a pregnancy confirmation first, then another record weeks later. Miscarriage management. My eyes moved over the words slowly. I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it. Emergency contact, Evan Whitmore. Relationship, husband. Date, 3 weeks after our first weekend trip to Savannah. I remembered that trip. I remembered Evan buying me pralines and telling me he had never felt peace like this. Peace. Apparently peace had a wife recovering from miscarriage paperwork. Brooke sat quietly in the driver's seat. That was rare. Usually silence made her itchy. I turned the paper over. On the back was a handwritten note in Claire's neat, tight script. He said you knew he was still legally married. I didn't know about you until after. My throat closed. Evan had told her I knew. He had told me she was unstable. A very efficient liar. Truly. If deception had a LinkedIn skill section, he'd be endorsed. My phone buzzed. Evan, I didn't answer. Then a text appeared. Please come home. I can explain before this becomes bigger. Bigger. I looked down at my stomach. At our daughter pressing against my ribs like she was trying to remind me she was real. I typed back one sentence. It's already bigger. I'm carrying it. Then I turned off my phone. Brooke took me to her house because she said my own house had too much Evan contamination. There. Her guest room smelled like lavender, clean sheets, an emotional emergency. Brooke had a whole basket beside the bed, tissues, water, crackers, antacids, and one chocolate bar. For the baby, she said. The baby can't eat chocolate. Then you'll have to be her representative. I ate half of it in 3 bites. Very professional. That night, I didn't cry right away. That bothered me. I thought I should be sobbing, wailing, pressing a hand to my forehead like a woman in an old black and white movie. Instead, I sat on Brooke's bed reading the hospital record over and over while my feet swelled inside fuzzy socks. Pregnancy is rude that way. Your heart can crack open and your ankles still choose violence. Brooke sat cross-legged on the floor. Do you want me to say something wise? No. Good, I didn't have anything. I almost smiled. Then my phone lit up again. Evan. 23 missed calls by midnight. Then a message from his mother, Patricia. Honey, Evan says there was a misunderstanding. Please don't stress yourself or the baby. I stared at it. The baby. Everyone suddenly cared about stress when accountability entered the room. I showed Brooke. She read it and made a face. Oh, wonderful. Weaponized concern. The next morning, Claire texted. I know you don't owe me anything, but if you want the full story, I'll meet you without him. I did not want to meet her. I wanted to become a blanket. I wanted to rewind 4 years and ask better questions. I wanted my daughter to stop kicking every time my pulse rose, because it felt like she was trapped inside the consequences of adults who needed supervision. But I also wanted the truth. And apparently, wanting the truth is how you ruin a perfectly good denial phase. We met Claire at a bakery near King Street. Brooke came too because at that point she had appointed herself my unpaid security detail and snack coordinator. Claire looked nervous. She had no ring on. I noticed that first. She placed a small envelope on the table. Evan lied to both of us, she said. I nodded slowly. That seems to be his art form. Claire looked down. He told me you were just someone from work, casual, nothing serious. I laughed once. I was picking baby names with him 6 months later. Her face twisted. I'm sorry. I believed her, which annoyed me. Then she pulled out an old email, forwarded from Evan to Claire. Subject, please stop contacting me. The date was 2 weeks after my first anniversary with Evan. The first line made my stomach drop. Natalie can never know what happened between us. Claire's email sat on the bakery table between us, a little paper grenade. Brooke pushed my tea closer. Drink. I'm not thirsty. Drink anyway. You're pregnant and surrounded by idiots. I drank. Claire watched me carefully like I might break. I hated that, not because she was wrong, because I didn't want my husband's ex-wife to be the person handling me gently. I read the email again. Natalie can never know what happened between us. Under it, Evan had written, if she finds out I was still helping you after the miscarriage, she'll think I lied about everything. Claire had replied, you did lie about everything. Simple, clean, beautiful, really. Claire had been concise while I had been building a marriage on fog. I looked up. What does helping you mean? Claire inhaled. After the miscarriage, I fell apart. I'm not proud of it. Evan was still coming by sometimes, bringing groceries, taking me to appointments. I swallowed. And dating me. Yes. She didn't soften it. Good. I didn't need a velvet cover over the knife. He told me you knew we were separated but not final, Claire said. He told me you were okay with it. I didn't know you existed as anything except his difficult ex. Claire smiled sadly. That was his favorite version of me. Brooke leaned back. Men really do love giving women character roles. Difficult ex, emotional wife, cool new girlfriend. Meanwhile, he's the common denominator wearing khakis. I snorted despite myself. It hurt my ribs. Claire continued. I didn't come to the restaurant to hurt you. I asked him to tell you before the baby comes. I looked down at my stomach. Why now? Because I saw your shower photos. That surprised me. Claire looked embarrassed. His cousin posted them. You were holding tiny socks. You looked happy. I remembered those socks. Yellow ducks. Ridiculous. Adorable. $14 for something that could fit on a thumb. Claire's voice cracked. And I realized he had done it again. Done what? Built a new life by editing the old one. That sentence stayed with me, because it was true. Evan hadn't just lied, he had revised people. He made Claire unstable so I wouldn't listen to her. He made me informed so Claire wouldn't blame him. He made himself trapped between women instead of responsible to either. My phone buzzed again. This time, a voicemail transcript appeared from Evan. Please, Nat, don't let Claire poison this. Think about our daughter. Our daughter. I placed my hand over my belly. For the first time, that phrase didn't comfort me, it scared me. Because if Evan could rewrite Claire before me and me to Claire, what story would he tell our child someday? I went home that afternoon with Brooke and a grocery bag full of pastries I didn't remember buying. Stress shopping is real. Some women buy shoes. I buy croissants under legal distress. Evan was waiting on the porch. Of course he was. Same gray sweater, same tired face, same eyes that used to make me forgive small things before they became large things. He stood when he saw me. Natalie. Brooke stepped out of the car first. Careful, she said. She's pregnant and I'm hostile. Evan ignored her. I need to talk to my wife. Brooke smiled. Oh, good. You remembered the title. I walked past him and unlocked the door. The house smelled like our house. Laundry detergent. Coffee. The lemon candle I bought because pregnancy made me hate the smell of everything except fake citrus and toast. I hated that comfort was still there. Evan followed me into the kitchen. Brooke stayed near the doorway, arms crossed. I set the pastries on the counter. Evan looked at the bag. You went to Brown's Bakery? Really? That's your opening? He looked down. I'm trying. No, you're improvising. That stopped him. Good. Improvisation had worked for him too long. I pulled Claire's papers from my purse and placed them on the island. Hospital record, email, note. Evan's face tightened. She had no right to give you those. I laughed. There it was, not I'm sorry, not I hurt you. She had no right. Men who get caught always become passionate about privacy. Funny how that works. I said, explain, Savannah. His face went pale. He knew exactly what I meant. I was confused then. You were married to her. Legally, yes, and sleeping with me. He flinched. Brooke muttered, a bold calendar strategy. Evan rubbed his forehead. Claire and I were over emotionally. You keep saying emotionally like paperwork and bodies don't count. He looked at my stomach. That's not fair. No, fair would have been telling me the truth before I married you. Before I got pregnant. Before I let you become the father of my child while thinking you were honest. His eyes filled. I hated that too. Tears from guilty men are tricky. Sometimes they're grief. Sometimes they're just spilled self-pity. I love you, he said. I wanted that to matter. Part of me still did. That was the embarrassing part, nobody tells you. Betrayal doesn't erase love immediately. It just makes love stand there holding a knife and looking confused. I touched the counter to steady myself. Did you marry me because you loved me? I asked. Or because I believed the version of you Claire stopped believing? He didn't answer. And that was an answer. I slept in the nursery that night. Not in the crib, obviously. Though honestly, the crib looked more stable than my marriage. I sat in the rocking chair under the half-painted wall, holding a tiny yellow sock from the baby shower. One of the ducks had a crooked eye. I had loved that. Now I kept staring at it like it might explain adult failure. Evan slept in the guest room. Brooke slept on the couch because she said leaving me alone with a liar and a fetus was above her emotional pay grade. At 3 a.m., I woke to Evan talking in the hallway. Low voice. Phone call. I didn't move at first. Then I heard Claire's name. My body went cold. I stood slowly, one hand on my belly, and opened the nursery door a crack. Evan was pacing near the stairs. I told you not to contact her again, he whispered. Pause. No, Claire, you don't get to blow up my family and act righteous. My family. The phrase scraped. I stepped into the hallway. Put it on speaker. He spun around. Natalie, speaker. His face hardened. For the first time since the restaurant, the soft, guilty husband disappeared. There he was. The editor. The man who arranged people into versions that benefited him. He ended the call. I stared at him. That was brave. Hanging up on the truth. He shoved the phone into his pocket. You don't understand what she's like. Claire? She manipulates people. I almost laughed. The audacity had muscle tone. You told her I knew about your marriage. That was complicated. You told me she was unstable. She was. You told both of us whatever kept you comfortable. He didn't answer. From the couch downstairs, Brooke called out, I'm awake and judging. I closed my eyes briefly. Of course she was. Evan lowered his voice. Nat, we are having a baby. We need to move forward. That sentence. We need to move forward. Men love forward when backward contains evidence. I looked into the nursery, the crib, the tiny dresser, the mobile with felt stars, our daughter's room. A room built by two people, one of whom had apparently been carrying old lies like furniture from house to house. No, I said. He blinked. No, we don't move forward until I know what I'm carrying her into. His face shifted. Fear, maybe. Finally, I went downstairs and took his laptop from the kitchen desk. He followed fast. What are you doing? Checking the calendar. Natalie, don't. Too late. The shared calendar opened automatically. I searched Claire's name. Nothing. Then I searched C. 3 deleted events appeared in gray. Dinner, C. Call C. Legal follow-up. The last one was dated 2 weeks before our wedding. My hand tightened on the mouse. Brooke appeared behind me. Oh, she said quietly. Evan whispered, I can explain. I looked at him. I know, that's the problem. The legal follow-up was not romantic. That was almost a relief. At that point, if I found out he had scheduled candlelit closure with his ex-wife 2 weeks before our wedding, I might have thrown the laptop into the dishwasher. Instead, it was worse in a quieter way. Evan had met with a lawyer about Claire, not to finalize loose ends, not to protect anyone, to make sure she couldn't come after him for support related to the miscarriage medical bills he had promised to help pay. Claire sent me the email the next morning. I read it at the kitchen table while eating dry cereal from a mug, because bowls felt like too much commitment. Pregnancy makes you weird. Betrayal just removes the shame. The email showed Evan telling Claire, Natalie's family doesn't know about you. I need this handled cleanly before the wedding. Cleanly. That word made me feel sick. I had been the clean version. Claire had been the mess he hid. Our daughter would have been born into a story with entire chapters ripped out. I called my doctor first. Not dramatic, but necessary. My blood pressure had been high at the last appointment, and I refused to let Evan's lies turn into a medical event with paperwork. Then I called an attorney. Her name was Denise Hart. She had a calm voice and the energy of someone who had ruined many confident men's afternoons. Are you safe? She asked. Yes. Good. Are you planning to leave the home? I don't know. Then don't decide tonight. Document everything. Document. The least romantic word in the English language, right after deductible, came into the kitchen around noon. He looked wrecked. I wanted to hate him cleanly. I couldn't. That annoyed me. He was still the man who rubbed my back when pregnancy made sleeping impossible. Still the man who assembled the crib wrong twice and cursed at a bag of screws like they had betrayed him personally. But he was also this. Both could be true. That's the horrible part. He sat across from me. I'm scared, he said. I waited. I'm scared you'll take the baby away. There it was. Not scared he hurt me. Not scared he lied. Scared of losing access. I placed my cereal mug down. I'm not Claire, I said. He looked confused. I'm not going to vanish because you rewrite me. His eyes filled again. I didn't soften. Whatever happens, our daughter gets the truth in age-appropriate pieces. She will not grow up inside one of your edited stories. Evan covered his face. For the first time, he didn't argue, and that silence told me he finally understood. I wasn't asking whether he had lied. I was deciding whether I could raise a child beside a man who treated truth like optional furniture. I didn't leave Evan that week. I know some people hate that part. People like clean endings. Woman betrayed, woman packs bag, woman walks into sunset with perfect hair and a soundtrack. At 6 months pregnant, walking into sunset mostly sounded like swollen feet and needing a bathroom. So I stayed long enough to think. Not forgive, think. There's a difference. Evan moved into the guest room permanently. I made that very clear after he tried to say for now. For now was how men left doors open for themselves. I preferred locks. We started counseling, but not the cute kind where a couple learns to communicate about dishes. This was colder, harder. A fluorescent-lit room where Evan had to say out loud that he lied to 2 women because truth made him look bad. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Patel, asked him once, "What did lying protect?" Evan said, "My future." I said, "No, your image." He didn't argue. Progress, I guess. Small, unattractive progress. Claire and I kept in touch for a while. Not friends exactly. More like two people who survived the same badly built bridge and occasionally checked whether the other had stopped limping. She sent me one message after my next ultrasound. "You don't owe him a perfect family story." I cried when I read that. Then I ate 3 pickles and half a peanut butter sandwich, because grief and cravings have terrible boundaries. By the time our daughter was born, Evan and I were separated. Legally. Clearly. Not dramatically. He was at the hospital because I allowed it, and because my daughter deserved a father who started with honesty, even if he arrived late to the concept. When she came out screaming, pink and furious, I laughed through tears. "There she is," the nurse said. I looked at Evan. He was crying. Real crying. Not caught crying. Not self-pity crying. Maybe becoming a parent cracked something open in him that should have opened years before. Maybe. But I had stopped building my life on maybe. I named her Lily Claire Whitmore. Claire because truth had come from an unexpected place. Evan noticed. He didn't object. Smartest thing he'd done in months. When I held Lily against my chest, I whispered, "You're never going to be a secret." And I meant every word. A year later, Lily learned how to throw peas from her high chair with shocking accuracy. Brooke said she had my aim and Evan's commitment to bad choices. Fair. Evan and I co-parented with a shared calendar, written agreements, and absolutely no room for creative storytelling. He showed up. He apologized without asking for applause. Sometimes that mattered. Sometimes it didn't. Claire sent Lily a birthday card. Nothing dramatic. Just a card with a tiny watercolor moon and one line inside. "Truth is a strange gift, but still a gift." I kept it in Lily's memory box. Not because I wanted to honor the mess, because one day my daughter would ask questions and I refused to hand her a fairy tale with missing pages. I still didn't know if Evan would become the man he should have been. That was no longer my job to predict. My job was Lily. My job was myself. Some nights, after putting her to bed, I sat in the rocking chair and remembered the restaurant. The doorway. Claire's cream dress. Evan's hand falling too late. It still hurt, less sharply. More like an old bruise when the weather changes. But then Lily would sigh in her sleep, tiny and dramatic, like a very small landlord unhappy with room service. And I would laugh, quietly, because life had not turned out clean. But it had turned honest.